Most people looking at moving into San Antonio are just one Google search away from completely taking themselves out of it. So today, as a local who's lived here my entire life, I want to answer 10 of the biggest concerns that I see people all the time asking about San Antonio. We're talking about the heat, we're talking about property taxes, we're talking about the water issues, schools, traffic, all the things that you guys are always commenting down below. So if there are questions that I missed on this, obviously comment those as well. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything, okay? If there is a big negative that you guys need to know about, I'm gonna tell you. And some of these things might surprise you. Starting off, is San Antonio actually affordable, or is that just compared to Austin? And the quick answer is no, it is not just compared to Austin, it's compared to pretty much every other big city in the country. San Antonio is incredibly affordable. In fact, it is the most affordable big city in Texas. I actually just recently did a video about this study, but in 2026, a smart asset study ranked San Antonio as the most affordable big city in America. And yes, obviously compared to Austin, we are a lot more affordable. Our median price point is close to half of what Austin's is. And has been that way for quite some time. Austin has just gone through the roof with their prices, but so has a lot of places in the entire country. When you talk about the super low cost of living on top of the national scale, you also look at no state income tax. I mean, there's lots of things that definitely benefit the affordability here. The one small asterisk about that is that the healthcare costs here run, just slightly above the national average as a whole. Now on that note, it's completely sidebar, but San Antonio is actually home to the South Texas Medical Center, and our medical, industry is huge here. So outside of military, medical is our next big industry that one, employs the most people, and two, really brings the biggest benefit to a lot of the locals. And is another big reason why, which is something we're gonna talk about later, San Antonio is such a great place to retire. Now, question number 2 is, how bad is the heat in the summer? So it is springtime whenever I am recording this video. It hasn't even hit summer yet. It's only 85, 87 or so outside. And whenever I go into my truck, it's been sitting in the sun all day, it says that it is 113 degrees outside. So that kind of shows you the level of heat from that baking sun that San Antonio can feel. So when you move here, make sure you have that car with the remote start so that you can turn on that AC before you get into it, especially whenever it comes to those hotter months. Now there is an adaptation period, okay? So especially if you're coming from up north and you're used to cooler weather, or even if you're coming from places like California that's more mild year round, the heat, especially as you get into the city, the concrete and pavement obviously makes things hotter. I mean, it's just, there's no question about that. I'll lead that on with an asterisk too. If you have a house and you like to spend a lot of time in your backyard, right? Get a house with an east-facing backyard. You're gonna get a lot of shade in the afternoon. When you're in the shade, it's significantly different. Got the pool, significantly different. Now, there is a big thing where you're looking at the overall heat averages. San Antonio's 3 hottest years on record have been actually the last 3 years, all right? So 23, 24, and 25. 24 was the hottest year on record. 2023 and 2025 actually tied for number 2. Now, last year, what I can tell you is that it didn't really get over 100 a whole lot. It was just consistently hot all year. And the other thing that you can pay attention to is that as you're up on the north side or in those hills, right, you're gonna get a lot more of that cooler breeze. It's gonna be a little bit cooler on average compared to in San Antonio versus if you're, say, south or southeast, places that are more sandy. It's gonna get a lot hotter, it's a lot drier out in those areas. So being up kind of on the north side, it's gonna make it a slightly, cooler, and more bearable compared to, those places where you are right in the middle of more desert landscape, let's be real. It's not just the heat that you have to worry about and sweating through your clothes, all that stuff that you have to worry about when in the summers. Obviously your AC is very, very important. So those AC companies, they stay in business pretty well here in San Antonio. You got to make sure that's kind of keeping up to date, keeping that upgraded. And then your roof actually can suffer because of the heat as well. So those are 2 things whenever you're buying the house, you got to make sure, okay, you've got a good quality roof, you've got a good quality HVAC system, that you're keeping up with both of those so that it's, not affecting your overall, well-being and the health of your house as a whole too. On the flip side of that, even though summer can be brutal, October through April is awesome. It doesn't get cold, but maybe freezes maybe for a few days out of the winter. But outside of that, it is not bad at all. And the other thing too, humidity is not nearly as bad here as some people make it out to be. You look at Houston, you look at down the coast, humidity is next level. Even Florida, it can be 90 degrees and you're outside just sweating your tail off, but it's a lot drier here. You get a lot more of that drier heat. So even though it may be 100 degrees with 100% humidity in Houston is miserable. But Here, 100 degrees, a little more dry, so it's not as miserable unless you get into some of those more humid days, which do happen occasionally. I'd say probably one of the things that I get the most questions on is these property taxes here in Texas. So are they really that bad? Well, the short answer is yes, they are pretty bad, especially when you look at it compared to everybody else in the country. But do me a favor, if you currently own a home and you think the property taxes in Texas are gonna make you never wanna move here, pause this and figure out what your property tax rate is and how much you're paying for your state income tax on top of your property taxes yearly, just to kind of have that number in the back of your head. Now, when you look at the property taxes here in the city of San Antonio, you're looking about, I'd say 2.3, 2.4% is kind of the average. It's been that way for a while. But you get outside of the city limits, you get into areas like Kendall County up in Bernie, Comal County with Bulverde and New Braunfels, even out in Wilson County where Lavernia is. Those areas you're seeing on average, about a 1.5 to 1.8% property tax rate. So when you compare that to the overall prices of the homes and also the lack of the state income tax, the property taxes that you're paying, even without any exemptions, are not that bad in comparison. Now, the overall exemptions that you're going to be getting, so those just increased this year actually. So the standard homestead exemption is now taking $140,000 off the school tax portion of your property taxes, which is about 70% of the overall taxes. Now, when you look at the senior homestead exemption, the over 65 exemption, that's taking $200,000 off that value, and it freezes the value to where it never can increase. As a standard homestead, it can increase a max of 10% year over year, but that decrease in value can save you anywhere from $1,500 to upwards of $2,000+ per year on your overall property taxes, which is a big difference for a lot of people, especially if you're moving here to retire and you're on a fixed income. And of course, if you are a 100% disabled veteran, I'm sure you know this by now, you pay 0 property taxes on your primary residence. Now, as I'm sure a lot of you guys do know if you've watched this channel for any length of time, my name is Michael McCall, but just as a quick introduction, I run the Life and SATX home group here in San Antonio. We're a real estate group, born and raised here. I've lived here my entire life, know this place like the back of my hand, have a lot of construction background with my engineering degree and all that stuff, but my most important thing is making sure that you guys have all the information you need to know about San Antonio. So if you have any additional questions and want help planning that move here, or just seeing if San Antonio is right for you, would love for you guys to reach out to us. You can text, call, email us anytime, days, nights, or weekends, and we will get back with you to help you plan that move. And if you want to schedule a call directly with myself or somebody on my team, you can reach out and schedule it through that Calendly link in the description below. So just go down there, click that link, schedule a time that works best for you, and we'll walk you through this process step by step. Now, another common question, and I can see why it is a common question, is there actually things to do in San Antonio, or is there just the Riverwalk? So first off, the Riverwalk is 15 miles long. Most of you guys that have been to the Riverwalk in downtown San Antonio have only seen about a mile of it, so there is plenty more to see on the Riverwalk itself, but that's beside the point. Looking at the parks, you've got Breckenridge Park, you've got McAllister Park, you've got Hardburger Park, you've got the Guadalupe River State Park and Canyon Lake up on the north side, you've got Landa Park over in New Braunfels, which includes Schlitterbahn, one of the best water parks in the entire world, in addition to being on the Comal and the Guadalupe Rivers over there. You've got Lake McQueeney, you've got Lake Placid, you've got the San Antonio Missions, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and was the first of its kind in Texas. Tons of history here, which includes the Alamo. You've got the Pearl District, which is also on the Riverwalk, by the way. You've got SeaWorld, you've got Six Flags Fiesta Texas, you've got shops at Lock and Terror, you've got the Rim. There is so many things to do here and in this area. We're also like 2 hours from the beach, so it's kind of in a good central location without actually being close enough to be worried about hurricanes or those types of things too. So when it comes to things to do, there's plenty to do in San Antonio, okay? It may not be what some of you guys are used to coming from places like New York City. That's fine. I don't want it to be. I love how much stuff there is to do right here in San Antonio, and having lived here my entire life, I still haven't done it all. And we'll separate the food scene to another point in this conversation, but that's something else on top of the other things I already mentioned. All right, question number 5 is the traffic. In my opinion, and from some other people that I've talked to, rush hour in San Antonio is what Dallas calls like mid-morning on a Tuesday. San Antonio commuters, you lose on average about 48 hours per year to commuting. And while that may sound a lot, it really isn't when you see that Dallas commuters lose 77 per year and Houston commuters lose 69 per year and Austin loses 64 per year. So we are literally just a fraction of each of these, okay? once you get here and you kind of know the major pinch points, such as, I-35 and 1604, those 410 intersections closer to downtown, those are kind of the worst spots that you really have to deal with. But outside of that, especially given that they're doing all this construction on 1604 between 35 and I-10 and beyond, it's going to make that commute significantly easier on the outer edges of town, which is where the vast majority of people are kind of commuting and using to get around San Antonio anyways. Another question I get a lot is whether or not people should live in the suburbs or live in town, and just kind of where they should live based off of their, where they're working at. I mean, obviously there's a lot more to it than this kind of big broad question, because it's each individual person's situation that I have to kind of walk them through and see what works best for them. But it's important to look at obviously how far you're willing to commute for work. If you're working from home, doesn't matter. If school's important, looking where the school districts are that you need to be in is incredibly important. And given places like Bernie ISD, Comal ISD, Church Civil Universal City ISD, even Northeast ISD, Northside ISD, Alamo Heights ISD, I mean, all these different school districts have very, very good ratings, but are very different in their own right. So doing your own research on those school districts for what is best for you and what you need for your kids is huge. That's not something I can really help with. Also looking at, of course, the lifestyle and the location and what's kind of around those areas. That northeast side where Church Cibolo is, very heavy presence for military, given Randolph Air Force Base is right there. Looking at, further up in Bernie, it is more of a kind of a bedroom community. You have the main area of downtown Bernie, which is beautiful, but there's not a lot of big stuff to do. You got to drive into San Antonio for all of that, right? You also got to look at price points. And, you get to some of these suburb areas, you're spending a lot more for the homes, and it's taking you a little bit further to get into San Antonio. I mean, there's so many different varieties of different things, but the biggest thing that I always tell everybody is figure out the 2 or 3 most important things for you, whether it's a shorter commute, want to spend more time at home and not on the road driving. If school districts are vastly important, is resale more important? Are you looking at this being a short-term situation and you need to find a house that is affordable that you can resell in a few years when you're upgrading, or maybe you're military and needing to move again in a couple of years, right? And deciding whether you need to buy or rent in that situation. So there's so many different things, and if you're retiring here, where's the best place to retire? Again, we're going to talk about that on this last question in this video, but there's so many things to think about when it comes to deciding whether you're going to be in the city or on the suburbs. Now, I'd say this next one is probably one of the more pressing current issues that I get tons and tons of comments about, and that is the water. So what is the deal with San Antonio's water problems, and is there even a problem? Well, first off, I bet that if I said San Antonio has no water problems whatsoever, you should just move on to the next question. You guys would probably blow me up in the comments. Obviously, there's enough to talk about with the water that we need to address it. So overall, just as a general note, San Antonio sits on top of the Edwards Aquifer. That's where we get the majority of our water from. In fact, it is the main water supply for over 2 million people in this area. The problem is that South Texas always has drought cycles. They come and they go. I mean, I've seen them multiple times. In fact, like I mentioned, back in the 1950s, there was such a severe drought that people at the time were saying it was the worst drought for that area in 600 years. And the current drought we're in, although it is not nearly that bad, we are in a rainfall deficit of 50 inches since 2019. So that's looking at the average rainfall that we should be getting on a yearly basis. And obviously we are negative 50 inches if you look at each of those, those 6 years since then. And in fact, in 2025, the Edwards Aquifer hit its lowest level since 1990. So obviously this is no small thing. The biggest thing is that San Antonio has been prepared for this. Now, this is not, again, something that is new. These drought cycles happen all the time. So back in 1995, San Antonio got 100% of its water from the Edwards Aquifer. Today, it currently draws from 7 different sources, including 13 different, projects throughout those sources, including a desalination plant, believe it or not. And that's not pulling water from the coast, super salty water. It's pulling brackish water from deep underground, and has actually been used to create millions of gallons of drinkable water that has been put out into the San Antonio water supply. And believe it or not, from the stuff that I've seen, water usage has actually stayed relatively flat throughout San Antonio, throughout the decades of crazy big development and population growth. So while I don't have a solution to what they could possibly do in the future, one thing I can say is that the people talking about subdivisions using all this water, it's not been as big of a thing based on the data and the water usage itself. It's been mostly the drought's been the issues. The developments that have been built over the top of the recharge zones, that I think is the biggest issue, because the way that We're Aquifer works, it's all these different cracks and crevices and caves and things like that, you know, if it rains a whole bunch in a short period of time, it fills up that aquifer really quick, and the water levels can fluctuate quite a bit. And then whenever you talk about the data centers, those are such a new thing. There's going to need to be some kind of regulation that kind of controls that, because that is going to be something that, you know, affects water, you know, by the magnitude of thousands, tens of thousands of homes. So it's like, you know, one building is going to, you know, definitely impact the entire area in a much greater way than just, you know, one small subdivision of a couple hundred houses. In fact, when you look at 2 facilities that have already been opened, they've used 463 million gallons of water during this recent drought. And there's basically no community input required for that. Now, I'm sure there's something, I would hope that there's some kind of regulation, you know, affecting this and kind of controlling this and looking at this and managing this, but you know, this is still such a new thing, and I know that it's a hot button topic for a lot of people around here, and including myself, because it does concern me. Obviously, I live here. I want there to be plenty of water for my kids to grow up and live here too. Another big shock that a lot of people get whenever they're moving here are the fact that there are so many HOAs. They would think, oh, it's Texas, freedom. There shouldn't be any HOAs. I don't want a house that's in an HOA. I don't want anything to do with HOAs. Well, let me take a step back and allow you to understand that the HOAs here are not what you see in Florida or California or Vegas or New York or any of those other places that have just crazy regulations and all these condo developments. Most of the HOA dues that you're paying are, you know, maybe $300 to $600, $700, $800 on the upper end for most cases per year. That's per year. That's not monthly. That's per year. And this includes all the common facility maintenance, the you know, landscaping at the entrances. If there are gates, those are typically the ones with the higher, you know, HOA rates. But even the amenity centers, I've seen plenty of communities with outstanding amenity centers with splash pads and pools and rec centers and all of those things for less than $1,000 a year. Let's talk about food. It's going to be dinner time and I'm getting hungry, so I'm already thinking about it. Especially talking about this is making me even more hungry. But Tex-Mex here is next level. I'm going to have some tonight. It is obviously plenty of options when it comes to Tex-Mex food here in the San Antonio area. And when it comes to breakfast tacos, you guys in Austin can fight me all you want to. We have the best breakfast tacos, bar none. All right, but it's not just that. So we have actually 15 San Antonio restaurants represented on the Michelin Guide, with 3 of those actually earning Michelin stars. So this is a new thing. The Michelin Guide wasn't in Texas for a long time, and over the last couple of years, it has started to come back. I think they've had 2 years now where they've had the ceremony, which is, you know, kind of honored those Michelin Guide restaurants. Mixtly is one of the more prominent ones. They rotate through Mexico's like culinary stuff season by season. Very unique. Isidore at the Pearl actually earned a rare Michelin Green Star on top of the standard one. And then you have Nicosi, which actually runs a unique 8-course dessert tasting experience in a absolute phone-free setting, which is kind of cool. Beyond the Michelin tier, you have the barbecue scene, of course, with 2M Smokehouse, Barbecue Station, and Reese Bros. Those are all really good right in San Antonio. And then just down the road in Seguin is Burnt Bean Company, which is ranked the #1 barbecue restaurant in the state of Texas on the Texas Monthly Top 50 that comes out once every 5 years. They were also recognized. I think they got a bib for Monde from Michelin, which is just kind of, you know, kind of their tier below a Michelin star, which is pretty good for a barbecue restaurant in a small town like Seguin. You've also got all the other stuff at the Pearl. You've got Southerly Brewing, you've got Cured, you've got the Saturday Farmers Market at the Pearl. But really, when it comes to the true Mexican food and Tex-Mex of San Antonio that we are really known for, it's not these big name places. You got to go find those hole-in-the-wall places that, you know, look like they might be a little dirty, which is okay. Like, that's how you want it, and looks like it's, you know, can fit maybe 20 people and like 50 people are there, right? That's the place you really want to go. Those are the places that are really good food. Now, lastly, let's talk a little bit about you folks that are looking at retiring. I get tons of folks here that are looking to retire in San Antonio, mainly because of the affordability and the climate, right? They're trying to get away from, you know, the heavy snow, heavy, you know, winters of the north and get to a place that is more of a mild climate, close to an international airport where they may want to, you know, travel a little bit more. I mean, there's so many different options with that. Although San Antonio is not known for its 55+ communities, there are a few, including a new one going up at Barramendi. It's a Del Webb 55+ community at Barramendi and New Braunfels, which is going to be very nice. You've got the Del Webb community 55+ on the west side of San Antonio as well. There's a couple others mixed in, including some really affordable ones over in Shirts, which are really nice. But overall, when you're looking at retirement communities, it's more of just kind of the lifestyle and kind of location. And it's really just making sure that you know, okay, what are the property taxes, you know, especially as you're retiring. I know that the fixed income is very, very important. Looking at the price points with the property taxes, because even though if you're getting those exemptions, you're not eliminating those property taxes altogether. So if you get a higher price home, obviously the prices of the property taxes are still going to be up there if you're in a higher property tax rate area. Looking at the overall maintenance, there are some communities which I would consider garden home communities, more, you know, kind of in that like Chavano Park area off of I-10. There's also some places like Cibolo Canyons close to some major golf courses, like TPC. You also have Sonterra. I mean, there's multiple others too, but overall, the affordability is huge, and then the healthcare here is next level. Like I already mentioned, San Antonio's healthcare is renowned across Texas. The South Texas Medical Center over there, the medical center on the northwest side, is next level. The military is here, as far as the BAMC and all the different VA hospitals that are here. So being able to have access for that as a retired veteran is huge, I know, for a ton of people. So as far as whether or not it's a good place to retire, absolutely is, for a lot of different reasons. San Antonio keeps getting written off by a lot of people who have either never lived here or lived here for a short time, or are just generally negative people, which is fine. Everybody has their own personalities. I'm not here to complain about that, but take into consideration all the facts, okay? Look at all these different things, do your own research, ask around, ask other people, go into Facebook groups, ask in there, take the negative comments with a grain of salt, and really dive into the actual facts of the situations, and don't just judge everything based off of emotions. Use those emotions wisely, but let them guide you into the right direction. San Antonio, again, is a place that I absolutely love. I've lived here my entire life. I will never live anywhere else, okay? I'm gonna raise my family here, and I plan on staying here long after that. I've looked into other places just out of curiosity. I can't find a place that I would rather be other than San Antonio. So if you are considering moving here, or if you live here now and need help selling and moving somewhere else, we help with any type of real estate thing. So reach out to us at the Life and SATX Home Group. We absolutely love helping you guys with anything and everything that you need when it comes to moving in or out of San Antonio. So reach out to us in that description below. Email us, call, text, email us. Again, like I said, anytime, days, nights, or weekends, and we will get on a call with you guys to help you with that process. And if you are looking at one of these suburb areas, say Bernie, and you want to know about some of the negatives of it, take a look at this video right here. Till the next one, we'll see you there.